trend of coups in Africa. We have Bolu Michael-Biyi. He's a former legal advisor at the African Union. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. B.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'd like you to get into the conversation and share with us your thoughts on the recent coup in Gabon. It seems that we've had a recent wave of coups, the most recent being, of course, the Niger coup that happened on the 26th of July, 2023. But your reactions to the Gabon coup, first, did you see coming with the recent copycat coups we might refer to them as? Did you foresee this, and what are your thoughts about it?
Okay, what makes this different is that it's more about the election, while others is about the security situation in the respective countries as well as governance. So this one particularly is about the election. And I personally see it as a palace coup than a revolutionary coup, or because there are no changes in terms of the family being involved. The Bongo family is still the same bloodline. You know, they've been ruling the country for over 50 years now, and the person that has been named as the transitional leader, the person of Bryce Nguema, happens to be the cousin of Ali Bongo, and he was put in the position as the president, the lead commander-in-chief of the Presidential Guard, to prevent instances like this. And so I see it more as a palace coup than a revolutionary coup. And my concern is that Gabon may be plunging from fry pan to fire now, because history has showed us that each time there's been a palace coup, the nations have kind of plunged from grace to grass. A typical example is Burkina Faso, when Thomas Sankara died in 1987 after being killed or allegedly killed by the former president Blaise Compaoré, and that seemed like the beginning of the end of the downfall of Burkina Faso. And because leadership is all about character, if a person from within a family could be doing that, it says a lot about the character of the leader. And another fear is that at least democracy, you have some checks and balances, international community can wade in. But in a dictatorship, the will of the common man is taken away. They only just hear just go, no come. You know, there's no checks and balances. A dictatorship, whatever they say is final. You know, and the political aspiration of the ordinary people is taken away. No matter how bad the country is, under a democratic government, that's when the ordinary person can aspire to be a political leader. You can't do that under a military government. The young child cannot say, I want to be president one day under the military government. And that's the fear. So Gabonese, this is the kind of coup that they should actually fight to prevent, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not sure how much fight they have in them, because Ali Bongo and his family have been there for 56 years. If they could fight, they probably would have had that fight maybe 30 years ago. But one thing that we've continued to see is that when these coups happen, regardless of how you describe it, a palace coup or a revolutionary coup, there's celebration from the people. So can you share, your thoughts on that one? You've said that Gabon may really be going from fry pan to fire, from what you see. But tell us why we continue to see celebration amongst the people when these coups happen, and we don't get to see a lot of people actually, the citizens of that country actually condemn the coup, like you're asking, that they do in this time.
Yeah, it's just, imagine being in the desert for a long time and then you have a drop of water, you celebrate. And even the Holy Book says that when a person is hungry, it's whatever they eat will taste sweet. That's the situation within the country. They've been clamoring for change since independence, since 1967, when late Omar Bongo, took over power and then handed over to the South, and then Nuruddin Bongo is being groomed to take over from Ali Bongo. They just want a change, and that's it. People they'll be in the current feeling and emotions. They just want to see a new face. They just want to hear, a new new voice, just been clamoring for change, and that's what they are celebrating. They are celebrating the change, not necessarily that their situation has improved. It's not going to improve overnight, but the fact that for the first time in a long while, in over 50 years, they're experiencing something new, and that's why they are celebrating. Over the course of months or weeks ahead, things will begin to unfold, and they will snap out of the emotions and begin to reason, in a more logical way as to what they might be getting into and what the dictatorship and the military government entails. They don't forget they've never really experienced this before, because there was. But their first president was there for 7 years, and then Omar Bongo for over 40 years, and then another democratic dispensation in the person of Ali Bongo. So this is going to be their major taste of military dictatorship. So they don't really know what they're celebrating at the moment. So in the weeks and months to come, if the government stands, the people will begin to realize whether it really calls for celebration.
What do we make of this, do I call it a dynasty-style leadership? We've seen that Omar Bongo was from Omar Bongo and then Ali Bongo, and that's not the only country that we've seen leadership happen in that manner. And then we've seen in Uganda, for example, we currently have Yoweri Museveni. There have been rumors that his son, Kainerugaba, is being groomed to take over from him. We've seen people who will stay in office for years, only for them to hand over to their children. And the question is, what exactly was the point of the election that was being held? Was it just a sham? So talk to us about Nigeria's democracy, considering countries on the Africa's democracy, considering the countries in the continent where they have run their leadership as a dynasty, it's been handed from father to son. And what then is the essence of the elections?
Okay, as just a reflection of the failure of the other arms of government, that is the legislature and then the judiciary. The executive will not be able to take such actions if they don't have the buy-in of the legislature and the judiciary. It just shows that the judiciary of those countries have been bought over, and the legislature is also a rubber stamp one. And that's the point where Nigeria has to be careful as well. The role of the legislature is supposed to be meant to be the checks and balances within the government, and put pressure on the actions or ideas or strategies or frameworks or policies of the executive. So when they are talking about removal of term limits and things like that, it can't happen if they don't assent, if the legislature does not assent to it. Winning in court over issues when it's clear that there's been when it's clear that there's something fraudulent somewhere, and then the judiciary declares something else. It's the failure of the system, it's the total breakdown of the system. The sociologists who refer to a state of anomia, where people will just get so frustrated they can't take it anymore, and then they take to the street, they take laws into their hands, and they want to resort to self-help. It becomes a DIY, do-it-yourself style of governance. And we saw that in North Africa during the Arab Spring, where people just got frustrated, a person set himself on fire. That is the reaction of the people to a system that is broken. They will tolerate it for a while, but then it gets to a breaking point where they can't take it anymore. And I hope that in Nigeria, we are learning from history about things that have been unfolding in this country, and ensure as much as possible that the impunity that may be taking place in our country ends, and that the legislature and the judiciary, they do the needful when necessary.
All right. I also want to talk about the international community. France has, seemingly not been so eager to, return Gabon back to a democratic rule. The same way they were with Niger. When the Niger coup happened, it felt like the world was, upside down. But Gabon, the reaction seems to be different. Can you share, why this might be? And of course, do we ever get to see a situation where, Emmanuel Macron, whoever it is, that is the French president, stays completely away from issues in Africa?
Okay, the first point I would like to make is that I think, first of all, it might be a coincidence that we are seeing they just happen to be French-speaking countries, because majority of countries in Africa are former French colonies. You know, you can literally practically close your eyes and point to the map of Africa. There's a 75% chance that you're pointing to a French-speaking country. So it's not really about French-speaking country, English-speaking country, or Portuguese. It just happens to be a French-speaking country. The second thing that makes it the Niger coup different from the one in Gabon is the jurisdiction of the regional body. For Niger is under ECOWAS. Gabon is a Central African country and is under the jurisdiction of the Economic Community of Central African States. Another difference is that the coup in Niger is about the style of governance and the perpetual subjugation of Niger by France. The one for Gabon is about the electoral process, which I personally believe that is just the person being named as a transitional leader taking advantage of the situation. Because if there was no election in Gabon, I don't think that we have seen a coup today. Rumor has it that it's always behind the presidency. And the reason why France is not saying anything yet is because they're still trying to maybe observe and see what unfolds. The second possible reason might be that they don't see any change. They don't see any change in governance, because for the Bongo family, for the government to be there for over 50 years, the family to be there for, that means they are enjoying, they are fulfilling their part of the post-colonial agreements. They are happy with them. Because if the West or the superpower is not happy with the government, history has showed us that they will try to get the person out. For example, Muammar Gaddafi in Libya was very strong about against the West, opposing them tooth and nail and in every way. Same as the former president of Zimbabwe, who may have been taken out, if not that he was already old and was on his way out. So France, they are satisfied with the Bongo regime, and now seeing that it's going back to the same family, not much has changed. That might be another reason why France has not said anything yet. I'd
also like us to talk a little about France. President Emmanuel Macron did visit Gabon sometime earlier in the year, sometime in March, and some people interpreted his visit to signify him showing support for President Ali Bongo in preparation for the just concluded elections that have led to his overturn. He did say in a speech, he gave a speech somewhere, during the summit, and he did say that the era of Franc-Afrique is over. But the way and manner in which France has responded, for example, to Niger's coup was very, very strong. France obviously was not pleased at all with the coup that happened in Niger. So is the era really of Franc-Afrique, I beg your pardon, is it really over? Do we get to see the African countries that, of course, have gotten their independence from France? Do we get to see them operate as independent identities, independent entities, totally independent of the French influence?
I don't see that happening soon. If the leaders that have been there are still, from time immemorial, are still there, nothing is going to change as far as these leaders who pay allegiance to France are there. The only thing that I feel might make a change is when there's a revolution, and all those Franc-Afrique and all, they're just rhetorics. One reason why Niger is different, France took it serious, like very serious, is because they have strong economic interest in Niger at the moment, and it's about like I said, perpetual subjugation of France. It was at the center stages. France, the security, they were tired of the French rule, so it was a direct confrontation. And also the issue whereby the junta asked that the French ambassador to leave. All those things that they signify that it's all about France. That's why they take it so seriously. For Gabon, it's not about France, it's about the election. So that's the difference. They have France has strong economic interest in Niger in terms of natural resources. They have uranium. Niger has sizable amount of uranium being exploited by France. They don't want to let go of that. Now, new faces, they've been dealing with people for years, and the new faces just coming to threaten their economic interest. Definitely, they're going to kick it back. But the economic interest of France in Gabon is not being threatened at the moment because it's the same family. It's all about the election, no direct confrontation or France. Nothing is being said about the French ambassador and things like that. So that's different. If we're going to see a change in Africa in terms of Francophone, which I think from Macron's side is just rhetoric, it has to take like a serious revolution, something like the Arab Spring and stuff like that would need to happen for that to really take place in this French, in African countries in general.
Well, the Arab Spring didn't really bring a lot of change to that part of of the continent either. There's a strong argument to show that it was orchestrated by certain factors. And not just to place into proper context when we're talking about leaders. Cameroon's president Paul Biya has been in office for about 40 years now, and I don't know if we would ever get to see the people be able to take back their country from not just the colonial leaders, but even from their own government, because apparently the people who have led these countries are no different from the colonizers. Mr. B, thank you so much for stopping by. We look forward to speaking with you again.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.